Hello everyone, my name is Betty Oh Hell No, and I am here to read you some amazing books from the beautiful, beautiful city of New York. I'm in Central Park right now. The sun is going down. There are pigeons everywhere. You can smell the horse poop everywhere. It smells amazing. And I have some incredible books to read for you, courtesy of the Incredible Creative Alliance in my home away from home, Baltimore. So we're gonna get started. So our first book tonight, today, dear children, is Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. It's so colorful and beautiful, just like I am today. This is written by Rob Sanders and illustrated by Steven Salerno. Isn't it beautiful? I'm in the way of everyone, aren't I? That's okay. If anybody wants to, listen, they can. Okay. So this is Pride, the story of Harvey Milk and the rainbow flag. Okay, let's get a little situated. So Harvey is laying in the grass here, a young Harvey in a very cute striped shirt. And he's thinking to himself, you have to give them hope. Hope for a better world, hope for a better tomorrow. Harvey Milk was an ordinary man, but he had an extraordinary dream. That dream would change history. Harvey dreamed that everyone, even gay people, would have equality. He dreamed that he and his friends would be treated like everyone else. He dreamed that one day, people would be able to live and love as they pleased. And they might even be able to ride bikes together. With his New York accent, Harvey talked to everyone about his dream. His voice boomed, his body bounced with energy and excitement. Some people listened, a few agreed. Unfortunately, most did not. Now this was back in the 70s, 80s? I'm not good with dates. This was a long time ago, before you were born, before I was born, maybe. But Harvey's big voice and his big dream wouldn't be stopped. He discovered that the best way to change laws was to help make laws. In 1977, Harvey Milk took a big step forward toward that dream when he became one of the first openly gay people to be elected to political office in the United States. Now this was happening in San Francisco on the East Coast, where it's hot and dry there, not humid and gross like in Maryland or in New York. Harvey and his friends planned marches to protest inequality and unfair laws. And just days before one of the marches, Harvey had an idea. I've got an idea! A symbol, he thought. We need a symbol that shows who we are and how we feel. Because we've got so many symbols in our country about recycling for the, what is this, the Red Cross? America, the dove, symbol of peace, peace sign. Harvey believed that we needed something to carry during the march, something to make people feel they're part of a community, something to give people hope, something extraordinary and colorful. Harvey knew an artist who could help, Gilbert Baker. Harvey asked. Gilbert said, we need a flag. Volunteers arrived to help Gilbert's design come to life. Together they dipped fabric into large barrels filled with vivid, vibrant dyes. They cut and pieced and sewed until there they are working in the factory. It's a flag factory. Harvey, Gilbert, and the other activists had a flag. And a flag with 8 colorful stripes. A flag that Harvey hoped would give Hope. So much hope. Rights are won only by those who make their voices heard. And this flag is bright and beautiful, and it says, hey, you need to listen to us. On June 25th, 1978, when it was time for the march, a breeze stirred in San Francisco. The flag unfurled. Oh, look at Harvey. He's so happy down there with his cute little tie. The wind blew, the flag fluttered, flapped and flew. A rainbow as bright and unique as the men and women who walked behind it led the march. Harvey and the people asked for equality. They asked to be treated like everyone else. They asked to live and love as they pleased. They hoped the march would make a difference. There's Harvey right there, holding up that flag, flapping in the wind. Oh, this does match my outfit pretty well. Harvey was proud of the flag and proud of himself. He hoped others would be proud too. And so many others were. Look at all those proud people. Five months later, on the morning of November 27th, 1978, Harvey and the mayor of San Francisco, George Moscone, were assassinated. Their lives were taken by a man who did not think like Harvey or feel like him or love like him. The flag did not fly on that dark, sad night. Instead, thousands and thousands of people marched silently, carrying candles. The candlelight wove through the streets of San Francisco, up and down hills and around city buildings. A mile of glowing candlelight in honor of 2 lives lost. That could have been the end of Harvey's dream and the colorful flag. But guess what? It wasn't. More rainbow flags were created. Some of the colors changed. 8 stripes became 6 stripes, but the meaning of the flag did not change. It was a flag of equality. More and more people began to think of the flag as their flag, and they began to feel pride. They began to have hope. Now today, we've got even more stripes. We've got pink and blue stripes for our trans brothers and sisters, and we've got black and brown for our black and brown brothers and sisters. In 1994, Gilbert Baker designed another rainbow flag. This one was larger than all the rest. Women and men side by side carried the flag, a proud mile-long rainbow floating through New York City. Just like me, a mile-long rainbow floating through New York City. The flag wove through the streets, up and down avenues and boulevards, and around the city buildings. The people demanded equality. They demanded to be treated like everyone else. They demanded to live and love as they pleased. They were proud, they had hope, they would make a difference. And they did, which is why I'm here in the middle of a fountain. I ask for the movement to continue, for the movement to grow. More rainbow flags were made. Some were printed on bumper stickers and t-shirts. Others were hoisted onto lampposts in Halsted Street in Chicago. One was hung in the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. Soon the rainbow flag was flying in other countries like Brazil, England, Israel, Russia, Singapore, and Turkey. The rainbow flag now unfurled on farms, in suburbs, and in cities. The flag flew proudly outside public buildings, hotels, shops, restaurants, churches, homes, and even the Creative Alliance. I hope. Oh, it's on bumper stickers, in museums, churches, t-shirts, my dress. And once, On June 26, 2015, the White House was awash in the colors of the rainbow flag. Equality, pride, hope, love. Harvey's dream became a flag for us all. Just a little old guy from New York City. Look at what he did. Or, yeah. Oh, the end. And as he said, you have to give them hope. Wasn't that lovely? I have one more book for you guys. This one is one of my favorites because it has so many of my heroes in it. And when I found it, I got super excited, and I wanted to share this with all of you who are watching today. This one is called Little Leaders, Bold Women in Black History. And it's by Vashti Harrison. And this book, if you don't have it, you should definitely get it. It's filled with incredible facts, incredible women, about incredible women. And the dedication of this book reads, "To all the women whose stories are in this book, thank you for being leaders, thank you for being brave, thank you for being bold. We are grateful and we are inspired. And to all the leaders yet to come, that means you out there, all of you out there, big or little, I cannot wait to hear your stories. Someday I'll be reading your stories on a park bench with people taking pictures around me." Now there are so many incredible women here. There are 40 plus in this book. So I chose my favorite, and I chose the ones who have helped, who have guided me through life and who have meant a lot to me. And the first one we're gonna start with, is Josephine Baker. Josephine Baker was a singer and dancer, and she was born in 1906. Let me tell you about this glamorously beautiful Miss Josephine Baker. Josephine had an early start in the entertainment business. As a child in St. Louis, Missouri, she would put on song and dance shows with the neighborhood kids. By the time she was 14, she was working as a stagehand at local theaters, which is a very, very hard job. The first time she performed on stage, she made waves with her wild dancing and silliness. And she dressed up in a bunch of bananas. She stood out from the chorus line, and the other performers sourly called, she stood out from the chorus line, and the other performers sourly called her a scene stealer. But that was just her style. That was just Josephine. Josephine's career really took off when she went to Europe. France became her adoptive country, and Paris, her stage. Gay Paris. When she returned to the United States, American audiences were not very receptive to her, a black woman who seemed too uppity for her own skin. Josephine, meanwhile, was shocked by the prejudice and discrimination she encountered. From then on, she negotiated non-discrimination clauses in her contracts for her performances and fought for integrated audiences. Her fearlessness did not end there. During World War II, Josephine worked for the French resistance, smuggling secret messages in her sheet music and undergarments. She was a spy. After the war, she was awarded two of France's highest military awards. Josephine built a large, loving family with adopted kids from all over the world. She called them the Rainbow Tribe. In 1963, she traveled back to the United States to march with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. at the famous March on Washington. She was the only woman slated to speak that day. Josephine was never one to fall in line. She always stood out and made her own way. She was a brave woman who was so much more than just a performer. What an incredible, incredible, sparkling human being. Our next one is another performer. She was a jazz singer, and she was born in 1917. Can you guess who it is? It's Ella Fitzgerald. As a young woman in Virginia, Ella longed for independence and dreamed of one day becoming an entertainer. As a teenager, she was living on the streets and singing for pennies. But in 1934, at the age of 17, she got her big break. She entered the amateur night contest at the Apollo Theater in Harlem, which is not too far behind me. You can probably see it behind that horse back there. She signed up as a dancer at first, but changed her routine to singing when she saw her competition. They were dressed in sparkling matching dresses while she was in tattered clothes. But she wowed the audience with her unique voice and won the first place prize of $25. That's worth about $500 today. Literally going from rags to riches. The following year, she landed a role as lead singer with Chick Webb and his orchestra, a popular band that regularly played at one of Harlem's hottest nightclubs, the Savoy. At the same time, she was building a solo career. In 1938, she recorded her first album and her first hit single, A Tisket a Tasket. Oh, and in 1938, she recorded that song, excuse me. Her career snowballed from there. In the 1950s, she developed her famous instrumental style of singing called scatting. You know what scatting is. Shoo-ba-doo-bop, boop-bop, shoo-ba-doo-ba-doo-bop. She does it much better than I do, I believe me. She collaborated with greats from all over the music industry, included Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Count Basie, and Frank Sinatra. In 1958, she made history when she became the first African-American woman to win a Grammy. Over her long and successful career, she recorded more than 200 albums and some 2,000 songs. Ella has gone down in history as one of the most iconic voices of all time. She was fondly known as the First Lady of Jazz and the First Lady of Song. Ella Fitzgerald. At last, my love is coming along. That's all. I won't do it anymore, I promise. Our next one, okay, I might save this one for last because it's my favorite. But our next one is another performer. She was a pianist, a singer, and an activist born in 1933. And I'm talking about the incredibly talented Miss Nina Simone. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Nina, who was born Eunice Wayman, grew up in a home where music was all around. A prodigy with a love for Bach, Brahms, and Beethoven, she dreamed of becoming the first black concert pianist. Activism, however, was as much a part of her as her music was. At age 11, when Eunice's parents were moved from the front row of one of her own recitals to make room for a white couple, she stood up and refused to play until the injustice was corrected. The event left her hardened and distrustful, but demonstrated the power of activism through music. As a young adult, financial troubles and discrimination got in the way of her studies, so Eunice began giving piano lessons. She soon learned she could earn double the money by performing in nightclubs in Atlantic City. When nightclub owners informed her that playing the piano was not enough, she had to become a singer. She took to the name Nina Simone and began to sing. Was there any way of knowing then that hers would become one of the most iconic voices in the history of music? If you don't know Nina Simone, you need to look her up and you need to listen to her music. She'll put a spell on you. Thank you, darling. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, good. On stage, her musical genius really showed. She combined different genres and styles, rejecting labels and defying categorization. She mixed jazz, folk music, and blues, and always held a soft spot for classical piano. Nina used her music to stand up for social justice, writing songs in response to the assassination of civil rights leader Medgar Evers and the Birmingham church bombing. She became a leading voice in the civil rights music, while her songs served as its soundtrack. And I implore you to listen to Nina if you have not heard her. She will definitely put a spell on you. I think I used that joke already, but I'm going to use it again because it's a good one. Okay, our next one is my favorite. She was an actress, she was a singer, and she was a cosmic entity unlike anyone the world has ever seen. The one and only Nichelle Nichols from the first season of Star Trek. Or the first series of Star Trek, not the first season. She's one of my idols. I used to do book reports about her biography when I was a kid because I'm a nerd. In her youth, Nichelle was a gifted dancer, an actor, and singer. She worked her first professional acting role when she was only 14 years old and had a successful career on stage for several years. In 1966, Nichelle landed the role with which she would make her mark on the world and perhaps the universe. She was cast in the brand new science fiction series Star Trek as Communications Officer Lieutenant Uhura, becoming the first woman of color in history in a leading role on a prime television show. Uhura was smart, brave, and dignified, and treated with respect because she earned it. It was truly a groundbreaking role, considering that in those days, people of color were usually cast as either servants or maids. In 1968, at the height of the civil rights movement, Nichelle and one of her white castmates made history when their characters shared the first ever on-screen interracial kiss. Ooh. Ooh. Many Americans were angered by the display of integration on a national television show, and the studio received letters of complaint. Producers responded by cutting Nichelle's lines, making her scenes shorter, and relegating her to the background. She considered returning to the stage acting, but a chance encounter with Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. changed Nichelle's mind. Dr. King, a self-proclaimed Trekkie, urged Nichelle to stay on the show because of how much representation mattered, and still matters today. Ooh, I lost my place. She was a symbol of hope and a source of inspiration to people of color across America. This would prove to be exactly right. Dr. Mae Jemison names Nichelle as her inspiration to apply to NASA, and she went on to be the first African-American woman in space. After Star Trek, Nichelle continued to inspire people. She became a recruiter for NASA, traveling around the United States doing outreach to young men and women of color. And she was also in a bunch of Star Trek movies. They did not mention that, but some of my favorite movies are Star Trek movies, and Nichelle is killer. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me for Drag Story Time today. I would like to give a huge shout out to my loves at Creative Alliance and to everyone who watched today. I'm Miss Betty. Have a wonderful night.